Hello everyone, this is Sam from Newton Public Library. Well, April is National Poetry Month, and also for our 2020 Reading Challenge, this month's challenge is to read some poetry. So in honor of those two things, our staff from our various homes, we've picked out some poems to read to you and present to you. Hope you enjoy them. Also, if you'd be interested, in recording your own poem and sending it to us. We'd be happy to put some of that out on our Facebook as well, or just tell us in the comments what some of your favorite poems are and get some recommendations that way. Well, I'm going to start and then hand it off to the next person. I've got one of my favorite poets here, Wallace Stevens, and I'm going to read one of his early poems called Peter Quince at the Clavier. And if you're familiar with the story, the Bible story of Susanna and the elders, this is kind of a riff on that. What I like about it, as well as kind of the Wallace Stevens, kind of a philosophical poet, but he also just has a lot of fun with words and sounds and alliteration and unusual words that he uses in playful ways. So here is Peter Quince at the Clavier. Just as my fingers on these keys make music, so the selfsame sounds on my spirit make a music too. Music is feeling then, not sound, and thus it is that what I feel here in this room, desiring you, thinking of your blue-shadowed silk, is music. It is like the strain waked in the elders by Susanna. Of a green evening clear and warm, she bathed in her still garden, while the red-eyed elders watching felt the bases of their beings throb in witching chords, and their thin blood pulse pizzicati of Hosanna. In the green water, clear and warm, Susanna lay. She searched the touch of springs and found concealed imaginings. She sighed for so much melody. Upon the bank she stood in the cool of spent emotions. She felt among the leaves the dew of old devotions. She walked upon the grass, still quavering. The winds were like her maids on timid feet, fetching her woven scarves, yet wavering. A breath upon her hand muted the night. She turned. A cymbal crashed, and roaring horns. Soon, with a noise like tambourines, came her attendant Byzantines. They wondered why Susanna cried against the elders by her side, and as they whispered, the refrain was like a willow swept by rain. Anon their lamps' uplifted flame revealed Susanna and her shame. And then the simpering Byzantines fled with a noise like tambourines. Beauty is momentary in the mind, the fitful tracing of a portal. But in the flesh it is immortal. The body dies, the body's beauty lives. So evenings die in their green going, a wave interminably flowing. So gardens die, their meek breath scenting the cowl of winter, done repenting. So maidens die to the auroral celebrations of a maiden's choral. Susanna's music touched the body strings of those white elders, but escaping, left only death's ironic scraping. Now in immortality it plays on the clear viol of her memory, and makes a constant sacrament of praise. All right, thanks.
Hello everyone, happy Poetry Month. So I have to admit that I am more of a book reader than of a poetry reader. I love to immerse myself in a good story and kind of get lost in it, which I find tricky to do sometimes with a poem since they're so much shorter. But for Poetry Month, I decided to go ahead and reread some of the classics, and I actually stumbled on a new poem to me called I Started Early, Took My Dog. And it's written by Emily Dickinson, a poet I usually don't gravitate to, partially because I find the vocabulary of her era sometimes eludes me, and just it makes the poem confusing. So I did stumble across a really great website, poetryfoundation.org, and there they had a poetry guide for this particular poem. And that made, just having some of that background, made it really come to life for me. It tells the story of a young woman who goes to the beach and walks into the ocean with the fantasy of the ocean trying to swallow her up and chase her back onto shore. And I love that it's a compact little story. I also like it because I do love the beach and anything having to do with the ocean. So I just love the imagery of being in her situation as the main character. And it actually reminds me of this little painting that I have that I really love. It was a gift to me. And so now when I look at this painting, I think of Emily Dickinson's poem. So, as I said, I did not fully understand all of the words in the poem, and after I was able to find out what some of the words were, the poem came again more to life for me. So I'm going to share what those words are, and then it'll be followed by a reading with some graphics. Enjoy. A frigate is a warship, and in Emily Dickinson's time, it would have been a sailcraft, and it would have looked something like this. Hempen hands refers to the thick ropes that were used on the sailing ships of that time. And in the poem, Emily imagines that the sailors are throwing some hempen hands down to her to rescue her. And bodice is a term that's still used today by seamstresses or people who make clothing. It's just basically the top part of a dress. This is what a bodice in that era may have looked like. And finally, in the poem, Emily refers to the word or the term pearl. In this particular poem, she is meaning the foam that is on the top of the water at the edge of the ocean when the waves crash in.
I started early, took my dog, and visited the sea. The mermaids in the basement came out to look at me. And frigates in the upper floor extended hempen hands, presuming me to be a mouse aground upon the sands. But no man moved me till the tide went past my simple shoe, and past my apron, and my belt, and past my bodice, too, and made as he would eat me up, as wholly as a dew upon a dandelion sleeve. And then I started, too. And he followed, close behind. I felt his silver heel upon my ankle. Then my shoes would overflow with pearl. Until we met the solid town. No man he seemed to know, and bowing with a mighty look at me, the sea withdrew.
Hello, my name is Nathan. Well, I'm not a complicated man, but when my mind wanders on a long hike in a particularly snake-filled territory, sometimes I find myself quoting Boa Constrictor by Shel Silverstein in the book Where the Sidewalk Ends. Boa Constrictor. Oh, I'm being eaten by a boa constrictor. A boa constrictor, a boa constrictor. I'm being eaten by a boa constrictor, and I don't like it one bit. Well, what do you know? It's nibbling my toe. Oh gee, it's up to my knee. Oh my, it's up to my thigh. Oh fiddle, it's up to my middle. Oh heck, it's up to my neck. Oh dread, it's up to my... Mr. Silverstein gives a much better performance in the YouTube videos that I've seen. His performance with the guitar and with the children, it's seriously dark and dreadful, but somehow sweet when he performs it with children. Hope you enjoyed.
Hi everybody, Dan here, and I'm going to read my poem to you, and I apologize, I'm not a professional poem reader. My poem is The Lesson of the Moth by Don Marquez. I was talking to a moth the other evening. He was trying to break into an electric light bulb and fry himself on the wires. Why do you fellows pull the stunt? I asked him. Because it is the conventional thing for moths? Or why, if that had been an uncovered candle instead of an electric light bulb, you would now be a small, unsightly cinder. Have you no sense? Plenty of it answered, but at times we get tired of using it. We get bored with the routine and crave beauty and excitement. Fire is beautiful, and we know that if we get too close to it, will kill us. But what does that matter? It is better to be happy for a moment and to be burned up with beauty than to live a long time and be bored all the while. So we wad all our life up into one little roll, and then we shoot that roll. That is what life is for. It is better to be a part of beauty for one instant and then cease to exist than to exist forever and never be a part of beauty. Our attitude toward life is come easy, go easy. We are like human beings used to be before they became too civilized to enjoy themselves. And before I could argue him out of his philosophy, he went and immolated himself on a patent cigar lighter. I do not agree with him myself. I would rather have half the happiness and twice the longevity. But at the same time, I wish there was something I wanted as badly as he wanted to fry himself. Bye.
Hi, this is Sharon from Youth Services. I'm going to be reciting my favorite poem, Annabelle Lee, by Edgar Allan Poe. And what I love about this poem is the way Poe's word choices and the rhythm and rhyme of the poem all so wonderfully support what the poem is about, so that I actually feel like I'm sitting by the side of the sea, listening to the waves roll in and hit the shore. Here it goes. Annabelle Lee by Edgar Allan Poe. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabelle Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabelle Lee. With a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that, long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabelle Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabelle Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. That's it, bye.
Okay, thanks for watching. As a bonus, our director, Mary Ann, suggested that you might check out some audio recordings of Robert Frost reading his own poetry. We've got a link to that accompanying this video post. We've also got a link up to the blog post from earlier this month with a lot of cool poetry websites you can check out if you'd like to discover some poetry to read for the challenge this month. Until next time, have a good one. Bye-bye.